the road, there's already upheaval going on. That they're going to have a cement plant, I'm sure, for them, but it's already a mess out there before they even get started. But they're going to add to it. They know it, and they don't care. And I hope y'all do. I mean, we're out there flapping in the wind, if you want to call it, but I mean, we're dependent on people like y'all not to permit anymore with people living out there or trying to. It's very dangerous, and I believe all y'all know it. It's what you're going to do about it. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Our next registered speaker this evening that lives within 2 miles of the facility is Miss Amy Richard.
A little short. Okay. Can you hear me? I'll let you message him.
I'm gonna put it down some.
Oh, it's good how it is.
Oh, it's good? Okay.
If it's on.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Amy Richard. I live at 2922 Guillory Road in Westlake, Louisiana, 70669. The map that they show for DEQ shows that the site will be about 1,200 feet from my door. The map that they had for the Army Corps of Engineers had a little more information as far as lay down yards and all that, and that's about 450 feet from my door. That's scary, you know. We've lived next to Entergy for years. In fact, most of the people that live around us are generational. You know, their parents live there, their grandparents live there, and they've always lived next to Entergy, but Entergy burned coal, and we were always out in the country. Entergy is no longer going to burn coal anymore, and the steam releases, the noise, the vibrations, all of that, it's just too much for someone to live next to. There are not many of us left after Sasol has bought out only the south side of the road, and we've always been told, and it could have been rumor, not sure, that Sasol was never going to touch the north side of the road because they didn't want to step on the toes of Entergy. That's kind of Entergy's territory. You know, if anybody was going to buy it out, it would be Entergy, so they would, you know, add to their property and everything. Well, here we are, and Entergy has a gigantic project going on that they're very proud. I think it was 75 million, something, I don't know. They're very proud of the money that they're spending, and I'm sure it's a state-of-the-art facility, and I'm sure it's impressive if you like that kind of thing. But when you live there and you're going to breathe this, you know, after reading on pollutants, which never had a desire to read on pollutants till the letter comes out, I no longer want to spend time outside, which we all do. I no longer want to plant vegetables and eat them where I live. And that's sad, because as a citizen of the United States, we should be able to live and enjoy our properties. It's the law. Anyway, we have a lot of concerns as far as drainage. Our drainage from our road, anything that flows off of Houston Road goes down Guillory Road. Goes down Guillory Road and then drains into the ditch that goes through Entergy. And from the way the map shows, that's no longer going to be there. So we don't even have any answers as to what happens to our drainage on our property and our road. The level of the noise and stuff, right now we hear some of Entergy's new plant that they built on the other side of the coal plant, which right now there's woods in between us, and it's still very loud. You can hear the steam all night long sometimes, and it is very, very loud. So to have this 450 feet with no woods in between anymore is just, I am like shocked that they would put a plant this near residences. So, you know, I think we've always been pretty good neighbors to Entergy, and I think that if they want to do something good for the community, they should consider relocating the residents that are in the immediate area right there, and that should be a cost of construction and part of the mitigation plan. Because what happens to us, you know, I feel like it's almost a death sentence that it's coming right there next to us. The value of our homes, yeah, who would ever buy our home? You know, if we decided to leave on our own, which some of the residents don't have the capabilities to do that. So without the help, you know, of a buyout or something, how do people expect to get away from this? I don't know. It's something that I think Entergy is used to dealing with different projects that they have, and there's no reason why we couldn't sit down and have some conversations about it. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Would you like to submit? Would you like to submit anything to the board? I know that you have paperwork in your hand. I'm
No,
sorry.
I'll probably email a letter, but I don't, yeah, I'll email a letter in. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. All right, Ms. Richard was our last registered speaker who lives within 2 miles of the facility. We do not have any registered speakers who work within 2 miles of the facility. So at this point, we're going to move to registered speakers who live in the parish. And I'm probably going to get this wrong, Mr. Nkosi.
Yeah,
Did I
you
get
know,
it
it's
right?
pretty close,
Okay.
pretty close. All right, so my name's Sipo Nkosi, and upon further inspection, I do live within 2 miles if I have a 24/9 Fenimore loop. I'm representing the Vessel Project of Louisiana, and I do have a statement right now, but first I would just like to say, living off of Fenimore Loop off the golf course, at nighttime, it already literally looks like a sunrise looking out from my front yard. Like, I see all the plants, I see the flame from the incinerators, and it's kind of crazy that we want to put even more infrastructure out here. But so pretty much, as a lifelong advocate for environmental justice in Southwest Louisiana, I'm here representing the Vessel Project, and we strongly oppose the approval of this air permit. Lake Charles and surrounding communities are already burdened by decades of industrial pollution. Families in our region live surrounded by petrochemical facilities, refineries, LNG export terminals, and industrial operations that consistently impact our air quality, public health, and quality of life. Our communities have honestly sacrificed enough. Residents are already experiencing higher rates of respiratory illnesses, including asthma, cancer concerns, and other health impacts associated with the cumulative pollution exposure. Before any additional permit is considered, regulators must acknowledge the existing pollutional burden and the disproportionate impact that it bears on Black, Brown, Indigenous, and low-income frontline communities. And it's honestly getting beyond that at this point. Truthfully, we're getting to a point where it's not just affecting my community and the lower income people. We're seeing people from high income communities coming here saying, hey, now it's affecting me. Now it's an even bigger problem. The argument that this permit is needed for economic development ignores the true costs paid by local residents, clean air, and public health wetlands. Sorry, I realized that I messed up part of my statement.
Thank you, Tom.
You're good. So, I lost it, but I already know most of the statistics. So from 2006 to 2010, Entergy had went over 35,000 tons of carbon monoxide compared to what their acts permitted. They're permitted 994 tons of carbon emissions a year. And every single year from 2006 to 2010, they went over that by over a factor of 6.5 times the permitted amount. Okay? Furthermore, I'm so sorry, I lost my statement. But it's just we are allowing so much industry in this area. This cumulative this cumulative pollution that's coming from all these different plants. We already have too much of it. And before we start giving out air permits to other people and to other plants, we need to address the pollution that's already taking our community and our environment by storm. So that's really all I had to say. And thank y'all for your time, even though I lost my statement. Yes, sir.
You mentioned your address, but could you state it for the record?
2409 Fenimore Loop 70669.
Great. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, our next registered speaker that lives within the parish, Mr. James Hyde.
Yep, my name's James Hyatt, P.O. Box 7262, Lake Charles, Louisiana. And I do appreciate y'all holding this public hearing. When I looked at the application or for the permit, it's very alarming. These expedited permits now include the approval letter as the first thing in the permit. I don't think that we should conduct these hearings to be just a checking of the box. The reality is this area right here where we are is already overburdened with industrial emissions. And unfortunately, the DEQ, who is supposed to be the Department of Environmental Quality, continues to issue permits that degrade the environmental quality where we live. And unfortunately, the department also fails to enforce the regulations that they're supposed to. And time again, we see them negotiate with these industries for lower and lower fines. These companies have plenty of money. Y'all should get the money and give it to the people and put air monitors up. I'll get to my actual statement here. I noticed that the Entergy rep said that this was 750 megawatts was enough to power 250,000 homes. But the truth is, most of this is for some undeclared industrial user. Is this power actually for homes, or is this power for Woodside LNG, or for some unnamed data center that's coming, or for the Meta project? 800 temporary jobs. We all need some jobs, some good paying, quality jobs that don't kill us. The reality is there's only 22 permanent jobs. Why do we need another gas-powered power plant in this area? Do we have 250,000 new homes being built right here? No, we don't. It's not for the people, however they want to frame this. I think it's time that the DEQ actually enforces regulations instead of continuing to give permits to more and more air pollution. In this permit, Entergy's air study used pollution readings from faraway places like Deer Park, Texas, Baton Rouge, New Orleans to describe our air. Why is it that the DEQ does not have enough air monitors in Cameron or Calcasieu or Beauregard or Allen to know what's actually in the air? Using distant, dirtier readings can make our air look like it's got more room than it actually does. These national ambient air quality standards that we was talking about, we are very close to the threshold if we have not actually surpassed it, because we rely on the polluters to self-report what's actually being put in the air. We are already overburdened, and the DEQ should look at the cumulative impact of what's already in this area before you allow more to come on. The application claims no community here is disproportionately impacted. That's simply not true. The homes on Houston River Road are within half a mile of the smokestack. The High Hope Nursing Home, Willow Springs, Cypress Lake Subdivision, and Moss Bluff are all downwind in the north. The plant would sit right next to the other Entergy units, next to Sasol, next to Phillips 66, next to whatever they're calling themselves these days, PPG. Regulators permit one plant at a time and call each one small, but we breathe all of them together. And that's how a sacrifice zone gets built. We should require the best available control technologies and prove that they work. Entergy justifies these pollution controls by saying this is the same kind of situation that was approved in a West Virginia plant. The potential pollution is huge, and the significant impact levels are real. Carbon monoxide levels 20 times, smog-forming VOCs 17 times, greenhouse gases 36 times, 10 tons a year of ammonia leaking from the pollution control system that the company doesn't even list as a source. The permit leans on natural gas to skip monitoring requirements. We live in the largest export of natural gas in the world, and our electricity bills are tied to that export, and building yet another dependent power plant on natural gas makes no sense. We pay twice. We are paying 2/3 of the electricity in Louisiana is generated by natural gas, and that is a risky overdependency on one fuel, especially as we are exporting as much as possible to the highest bidder, driving up our own costs. The government's own energy agency, the EIA, says that exports are driving up gas prices, almost roughly double the 2024 price. Gas sets our electricity price, so our bills rise too, and we pay twice. We pay higher electricity price, and then we pay with our health and the health of our neighbors. And the plant creates 22 jobs. What is the real reason for another power plant right here? It's not 250,000 new homes. And also in this permit, it brushes aside our river, our wildlife. It doesn't talk, it's an air permit. It doesn't talk enough about the cooling water that's going to go into Houston River, that's going to affect the wildlife. We already live on a river that has suffered at the hands of industrial polluters that have not cleaned up their mess and paid for what they have done. We have a seafood advisory on the river. It's time the DEQ actually does the right thing, requires the industry to be a good neighbor, to enforce the highest, best available control technology, not just whichever one the voodoo economics guys decide is going to work for them. It's unfortunate that we continue to see these permit hearings happen and the people in Baton Rouge continue to side with industry instead of siding with the constituents and the people who live in these areas. It's time for the DEQ to take a step back and to actually consider what's being given to you, what's being told to you, the impacts to community and to people, to livelihoods and lives. Premature death and suffering, cardiovascular disease, cancer, asthma rates, miscarriages, all of these things are directly related to what is being allowed to be put into this air. And time again, in a place that's already got too much, try to squeeze a little bit more in. Because what? The people are not worth it. The people are worth it. We don't need this plant. This plant's not for us. We don't need a data center, and we don't need to subsidize more corporate profiteering on the backs of the people. And I'll leave you with that. Thanks for your time.
All right, our next group of registered speakers will be those who are opposed to the permit. Our first one to register is Mr. Michael Tridico. Denise, can we adjust the microphone for Mr. Tridico?
You want this chair or you want that chair?
Yeah,
You want this?
I better have a chair. Okay, thank you. Mr. Williams, I don't know how many more of these I can make.
You've been telling me that a long time. I don't have any reason to believe you.
Oh, man, it's at least 50 years of trying to send in comments or keep up with it. What James said is really important about y'all taking a step back. I mean, I remember when we didn't have a DEQ. We didn't even have an EPA. And different things were happening. We finally got a DEQ and an EPA. And that gave us a lot of hope because somebody besides the industry was going to be dictating what happened to the air, the water, the wildlife. But then came the company lawyers, and they have created a system within the National Environmental Policy Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, all of those acts that came about mainly during President Nixon's reign. All of those acts were good, theoretically. They were worded right, and it gave us hope. But somehow the entire regulatory framework has become corrupted. It is so intricate, so complex, has so many exemptions for this and that the companies get to do essentially what they want. And the people are essentially unprotected. So what James said about stepping back, it is time for DEQ to, call all your staff together for some big assembly and discuss who do you really need to be helping. I understand the way it's all framed and set up, a company can say, oh, well, you are required to give me this permit. I paid $38,000 application fee and all of that. Where's my permit? We don't have that kind of advantage of talking to you in person. We have to come here and try to tell you what we think. I turned in a technical paper where I went into a lot of details. And I have here an outline so that I don't forget to do something that I'd like to talk about. But the gist of it is the people that live here have already told you something really important. The whole permit package says that there's nothing going to be significant, no significant environmental impact. The only significant impact is going to be a lot of money, taxes for the parish, electricity for 250,000 homes. But the people have said too much traffic, too much air pollution, vibration, noise. I remember hearing in Cameron last year where I mentioned the fact that DEQ was mandated by the act that created it to do a noise regulation program. It was mandated. And it's been over 40 years, hasn't been done yet. And I used a word in that hearing, and the hearing officer, not you, but the other hearing officer, threatened to throw me out of the room because I called that problem of waiting 40 years for mandated regulations that never came. I called it what it was, a certain name. And he said, "You can't talk like that in a hearing." And I should have said, "You remind me of my mother." But it was, in my opinion, appropriate to use that kind of language because DEQ has failed miserably on noise, which was mandated. And the people here have said they have noise at night, they can't sleep. It's a reason for y'all to step back and start doing things that you were even told to do. Let me look at my notes here. Well, let me pull it up. The main thing that bothered me was the fact that Calcasieu Parish is considered to be in attainment for all of the national ambient air quality standards. This parish is supposed to be hunky-dory. But as James mentioned, some of the baselines are from Deer Park, Texas, and Carlos for ozone, for example. The ozone at Sasol, across the street from where these people live and where this new plant is going to be, the reading, if there was an ozone monitor at the station across the street where DEQ has a station, that ozone reading would be very different from Carlos, which is, 20-something miles out in the country. So the idea of attainment, we know that the attainment status gives the companies all kind of leeway. If we were in non-attainment, there'd be a whole different set of rules that would have to be followed as far as calculating the impact on the neighbors, as far as deciding what the best available control technology would be. But the way that it's set up, and the fact that DEQ doesn't have an ozone monitor at the station that they've got across the street from Sasol, very conveniently, but they've got one out there in Carlos, that means that the numbers for the modeling that's throughout the permit package, all of the different models show no problem. Those numbers would be different if there were a logical, sensible application of the ideas behind prevention of significant deterioration. But there's not a logical, sensible setup here in Calcasieu Parish. What is designed to do is to give the companies all a bunch of slack, and they use it. How many more plants can come in here and we don't go out of attainment? Apparently forever. you could probably put 1,000 new salts. And the way it's all set up, we'd never go out of attainment. It's a very fundamental flaw, and it affects this set of air pollutants. The thing I turned in has a couple of examples of contradictions and omissions, one of which the company representative here mentioned, the air cooling, that there's not going to be cooling water. Yet in the material that was available on EDMS, it talks about using water from the city of Westlake for cooling. A contradiction that's important because there's a thermal curtain in the Houston River where Entergy dumps its wastewater. And that thermal curtain blocks the migration of fish, and it increases the chances for fish kills during the summer because hot water doesn't hold as much oxygen. So when you've got a contradiction like that, what are we supposed to do? Who are we supposed to believe? Entergy or Entergy, when they tell us one thing and they tell us a different thing. That's why we've been asking DEQ to go out there, go out in a boat with a thermometer, check all the different thermal curtains that are in the Calcasieu River system, and this will be a new one, an added heat. But they're up and down the river, and they're decimating our speckled trout, shrimp. I mean, there's so many things, like 2 or 3 people have mentioned. It all adds up. It's cumulative. And you need to consider the cumulative impacts. I think I've hit the main things that I wanted to hit, and what the people said, those are local, real problems. They're not theoretical. They're not something that I did the homework and decided, okay, this is a technical thing that needs to be addressed. No, the main thing you've heard tonight is the real people who live here, and they've told you what they think. Okay, thank you.
Trico has provided us some technical data, which I've marked as Exhibit 1 and will be attached to the record. All right, our next registered speaker this evening will be Ms. Julie Broussard.
Good evening. I'm Julie Broussard from Longville, Louisiana, 70652. And didn't really plan on speaking tonight, but here it is. I'd just like to mention the DEQ's mission statement. Opening description is this department's mission is to provide service to the people of Louisiana through comprehensive environmental protection in order to promote and protect health, safety, and welfare while considering sound policies that are consistent with statutory mandates. And part of the 6 goals is to protect public health, safety, and welfare by protecting and improving the environment, land, air, and water. So I'm asking this evening to oppose this project mainly because our area, first off, doesn't need more power. We've actually had a couple of closures of plants in the last 6 months, and within the last few years after Hurricane Laura, we have not seen an increase in our population. So logically, it doesn't make sense that we should need more of this. And if we're going to spend that kind of money, let's spend $75 million on solar, which won't pollute the air or take water. It just provides shade and creates electricity. Having worked in the plants for a number of years, we've had what we call ozone days, where we have a notification that comes across or flyers that go out to say, okay, The air today is going to be somewhat stagnant, so all of the heat and humidity that surrounds our dome of air is something that people may need to stay inside for. They may not be able to work outside for very long. You may have to take more frequent breaks. So I don't see the point of exasperating that problem when our temperatures aren't decreasing. Our climate issues are getting worse. We were given our air and water and land to live. It is part of our pursuit of happiness. It is part of our liberty. And it has been taken from us a piece at a time. And until people are sick and people can't get clean water out of their tap, they can't breathe fresh air, they get cancer. So it's time we change what we're doing. And let's change it for the people and not the profit. Thank you.
Would you confirm your address for us?
Oh, it's 897 Martin Baggett Loop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our last registered speaker for the evening is Ms. Mona DeFries.
I'm Mona DeFries. I live at 237 DeFries Road, Ragley, Louisiana, in Beauregard Parish. I also own property in Calcasieu Parish, and occasionally I work in Calcasieu Parish. I've been sitting here listening to the citizens tonight, and the Holy Spirit's just moved on me. And I keep hearing the scriptures, something about that they consider themselves to be wise, but they became fools. There doesn't seem to be any common sense anymore in what we're pushing for economic development in the state. We're running over the citizens. And it's so unfortunate because until it happens at your back door, it almost seems like it doesn't matter. And I keep recalling the scripture that says, the golden rule, okay, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Is this company willing to build a house right next to it like this poor lady that's 450 feet from it? Why don't y'all build up some apartments for your workers? Let's see you put them all right there and let them live there. Y'all live there for a while. And DEQ, this board, y'all come live. Will y'all come do it? This is pathetic. It's evil. You know what it all boils down to? It's the love of money. That's the root of all evil. It's greed. And human life is not being taken into consideration. Livelihoods. People's lived in these places for generations. You know, this is criminal in my opinion. We're called to love our neighbors as ourselves. We're called to be good stewards of this earth. And the other thing, and last, what I'll say is, there is a scripture also that says you reap what you sow. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. DeFries was our last registered speaker of the evening, so I'm going to open up the floor to anybody who has arrived late or who did not register but would like to speak. Is there anyone else in the audience tonight who'd like to speak? Yes, sir. If you would, sir, state your name and address for the record.
My name's Robert Wheeler, 3036 Guillory Road. I am on the property line of this development. Instead, in every industry, Sasol, Entergy, all of them, are getting fined every year for overpollution. If you're not going to buy us out, let's make a statement that the residents of the area in the city of Westlake are the receivers of those fines that are issued. Those payments should be made to us, not other people, not industry, not the city of Lake Charles or Calcasieu Parish or this EPA thing that just overlooks everyone. Now, if you're willing to buy us out, or you're willing to pay us monthly or yearly stipends on what we have to live through, let's talk about that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this evening? Yes, ma'am. Or if you've already spoken, like Ms. Richard?
Yes,
Yeah.
can I say something else?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just
Okay.
using as an example. If anyone
Okay.
would like to come back, you're welcome to come back.
Okay, I did think of a couple more things that I wanted to mention. And one thing is, you know, when Sasol came through and the railroad came through and everything, but it also applies to Entergy's new project. With us living so close to there, I can't tell you that I've heard a siren, a test siren, anything since the hurricane. I knew at one point they hadn't been fixed since the hurricane. Now I still don't know. So, I mean, it's just that I don't know how the residents that are still there are notified of any accident or leak or anything like that. Now we have a railroad with hazardous materials being stored right there next to us also. In the event that something happens, I don't know how we know about it as residents. Air quality monitoring. You know, supposedly there's all these monitoring stations and all this kind of stuff. As a resident that has lived there for years, I have no idea what my air quality is. Every day when I walk outside, I don't have an app that I know to look and say, oh, you know, kind of like what she said, today the weather is, you know, maybe we should stay inside today. I'm just saying better communication with the residents for what they're breathing, you know, real time. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, we need to have a way to check this information ourselves, not wait till it's on the news. Oh, that happened, you know, last night, and now it's this morning. Oh, well, we stayed out all night last night. We didn't even know, you know. And then also, you know, they talked about every time a project comes up, they do the study on the endangered wildlife and stuff. And I found that that's very important. But also we have domestic animals that this will affect. And I feel that we are also endangered. They only make one of me. They only make one of you. I feel like we're just as important as the snapping turtle. You know, I mean, it all makes the world go round. So anyway, thank you.
Just for record purposes, that was Ms. Amy Richard who was adding to her comments that she made earlier. Yes, sir.
All right. I had pulled up the wrong one of the wrong statements, so I wanted to clarify some of the data that I wanted to share.
Can you introduce yourself again?
Yes, sir. So SIPO and COSI, 2409 Fenimore Loop. So I had referenced earlier about how Entergy had gone over their carbon monoxide. So basically, in 2006, they emitted 6,677 excess tons of carbon monoxide. In 2007, they emitted 6,270 excess tons of carbon monoxide. In 2008, it was 6,554. And in 2009, 6,356. And in 2010, 6,668. So they consistently violate the air permits, and we still allow them to have them. So that's a big problem. And there's a big lack of concern for the actual process of getting an air permit. And we're not looking at the track records of these companies, right? And so that's a grand total of 32,536 excess tons of carbon monoxide in 5 years. For reference, they were allowed 994, and from the paper I've seen, we're going to be allowing them 1,900 something now, which is double what they were already violating in the past. So we're literally rewarding these companies for violating their air permits. Now we're raising the amount of carbon monoxide they can put into the air. So that's over 6.5 times. And also on top of that, in that 5-year period, they lied and they submitted 23,103 tons less than their actual carbon monoxide emissions. And this all comes from where is it? The Department of Environmental Quality. So I'm not making this up off the top of my head. This is stuff you can Google. All right. From 2020 to 2025, and so also Entergy is not the only company that receives these undeserved privileges, right? Like this is a track record that we're seeing. From 2020 to 2025, Cameron LNG had 27 effluent violations. The Louisiana Bucket Brigade, recorded at least 67 accidental or unpermitted releases of pollution since 2000. That's 2 incidents per month. Okay, according to a 2025 study by the Environmental Integrity Project, Cameron LNG was in violation of the Clean Air Act for 11 out of 12 quarters. and they still have their air permit and they're still up and running, right? Venture Global passed some reported over 2,000 permit violations and deviations in the first year of operation in 2022. On January 18, 2022, Venture Global released 1,800 pounds of methane gas from a storage tank. An investigation showed that this was easily preventable and was the lack of adherence to basic procedures. These corporations are still operating while retaining their air permits, although they are in consistent violation of them, almost like these air permits mean nothing, okay? And the true price for this pollution is not paid in the form of a fine that these billion-dollar corporations can just shrug off by nothing. It's paid by us. It's paid by the residents of South Louisiana, who are experiencing higher rates of respiratory illness, including cancer, asthma, and all these other diseases, right? So before we consider additional permits, we need to handle all the other pollution that's already happening, like I said last time. So if any decision in favor of this air permit is a blatant decision to choose profit over the health of our citizens, you know? So we really just have to decide who we're in favor of. Are we in favor of our lobbyists and the corporations causing the cancer and causing the environmental pollution, or are we in favor of our citizens who are coming here today telling me this is a problem? Thank you so much for letting me come back, because I was so mad at myself. All right, and you're welcome.
My name is James Prater. I live at 3700 Houston River Road, and I'm also touching the property line of this facility. And my family's been involved in building heavy industry for years and decades, and they're almost all dead from what we have done. I'm almost dead too. I got asthma. It's going to kill me. So go ahead and rubber stamp it, build the son of a bitch.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this evening who did not register to speak? Okay, we are required by statute to keep the meeting open for another 3 minutes. So we'll adjourn until 7 o'clock. We'll go back on the record at 7. If anybody wants to speak then, you're more than welcome to come up and give additional comments. But we're going to adjourn for those additional 3 minutes, and then we'll re-adjourn at 7 p.m.